Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, everyone who's joining us virtually, and thanks to all the presenters, the students, and everyone here. I'm Dr. Yoav Dubinsky, Senior Instructor at the Lundquist College of Business, and the Operational Director of the University of Oregon Olympic Studies Hub. And we see this this week, and the session that opens this week, as an introduction to who we are and say, hi, we're here, and we want to be, and we want to play ball with you. So the University of Oregon is very rooted in the Olympic ecosystem, and the Olympic ecosystem is very much rooted within the University of Oregon. Over 100 years of participation, of athletes participating in the Olympic Games, over 100 athletes representing over 20 countries, winning dozens of medals, a place that officially brands itself as track town because of the significance of track and field and jogging culture within the city and this university. A place, the birthplace basically of Nike, where Bill Bauman and Phil Knight co-founded an athletic footwear company that has since 1990s has been sponsoring governing national governing bodies, and since the 2000s, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. The University of Oregon hosts regularly track and field competition, national, local, international, the pre-classic, the Diamond League competition, the only American city to host the World Athletic Championships, and often host the Olympic trials. So the track and field and the Olympic movement are very much rooted in the culture here, which is why we thought of this place as a place to be, to become an Olympic Studies and Research Center. Now, what is an Olympic Studies and Research Center? An Olympic Studies and Research Center is a recognition by the IOC-OSC, by the IOC Olympic Study Center that sits in Lausanne, Switzerland, and they recognize institutions around the world that focus on scholarship related to the Olympic movement, research, and studies. And at this point of time, there are about almost 80 institutions, and since December, we became one of them, and currently the only one in the US. As we are coming out of the pandemic in the spring of 2022, I was teaching a course SBS 255, Sports Business of the Olympic Games, and started to look around as all kinds of activities that we used to do pre-pandemic started to happen back on campus, such as guest speakers and site visits. And pre-pandemic, these were oftentimes to Olympic venue or to venues that had significance with the Olympics, including study abroad, and speakers with Olympic significance. In the spring of 2022, the University of Oregon was also preparing to host the World Athletic Championships. So I noticed all kinds of initiatives that will engage students in these, in the upcoming championships. So I started to think, if we put everything together, do we meet the criteria to become an Olympic Study Center? Is there enough scholarship here to justify? So I talked to the IOC Olympic Study Center in Lausanne. We had a virtual call. And they said that based on how I framed this and explained this, then yes, we might meet the criteria. And we set a few standards right from the get-go, clarifying that there is no money exchange. They're not paying us. We are not paying neither the IOC or the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. There's no money exchange between us. We're not paying them. They're not paying us. There's no external interference in our academic work. We can study and research and be glorifying or critical about the Olympic movement, depending on our scholarship. So that was very significant. Once I got that, understood what is an Olympic Study Center. I went to Professor Bettina Cornwell, who's the head of my department and the head of the marketing department at the Lundquist College of Business. And I told her about my talk in Lausanne and asked, is that something worth pursuing? And she told me, yes, talk to other Olympic study centers around the world, understand how that works, whether they sit in the university. And then for the next 2.5 years, basically, I was working externally with Olympic study centers around the world, with the IOC OSC, with the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee on the recognition. While at first Bettina was looking for a place at the university, and when Bruce became the dean of the Lundquist College of Business, he very much championed to bring it to life in the Lundquist College of Business and found a house for it in the Warsaw Sports Business Center. But all of this was under a very clear assumption, recognition, understanding by everyone here that this is a university-wide recognition and that we want to have involved the university, across the university. And it's not just at the Lundquist College of Business recognition or a Warsaw Sports Business Center recognition. Myself, I'm Dr. Yoav Dubinsky. I've been studying or researching the Olympic movement for over 20 years now, including from Beijing 2008, London 2012, Rio 2016, Tokyo 2020, and Paris 2024. I've been involved with the International Olympic Academy in Olympia, Greece since 2009. Student, coordinator, lecturer. I'm coming back there this summer to lecture in 2 sessions. I'm researching sports, nation branding, and public diplomacy, oftentimes in the context of the Olympic movement. The last few years, I've been taking students to London and study abroad, including visiting the Olympic Park and learning more about sustainability on the Olympics. I'm part of the leadership. The academic director is Professor Bettina Cornwell, world-class scholar on marketing, especially on sponsorship and sports sponsorship. I just introduced myself. As I tend to say, I probably speak this language better than I speak American. Lauren Anderson, the director of the Warsaw Sports Business Center, an alumni, has vast industry experience in branding, a decorated lacrosse coach. Greg Leon, the manager of the MBA program. You can probably find in the pre-pandemic activities, you can probably find his fingerprints on quite a lot of the activities that led to the recognition. And he's also an athlete, a marathon runner who represented the US in the Pan American Games. When we looked at why we do this, we identified the history of 100+ years and crackdown and everything that goes with that, along with a very educationalist, strategic, industry-oriented approach of how we approach education in the Lundquist College of Business. So we try to fuse them in a way that emphasizes our value proposition and our points of differentiation from other Olympic studies and research centers, aligning with Lundquist College of Business strategic plan, and more broadly, Oregon Rising now. When we looked at how we want to get our community involved, we identified 4 key pillars. Experiential learning, which means which relates to the industry-oriented approach. Sites visits, guest speakers within the US of from the Olympic business ecosystem, visits to past host Olympic cities in study abroad trips and tours, different involvement with track and field. Business and Olympism as a perception of how we can use sports and business to do good for society, whether that is connection to sustainability and climate change in sport, gender inclusivity, community outreach, social justice. Traditional studies and research, meaning publications and conferences and research and hosting and organizing conferences. and workshops, and multidisciplinary collaborations, meaning that, again, we're not just, it's not reserved only to the Lundquist College of Business. It's about engaging with alumni Olympians, with the community across the university. So if you're from history or from philosophy or from classics or journalism, or performance or law, we want your involvement and your scholarship. If you're positivist who think that the Olympics bring people together and do good for the world, we want your scholarships. If you're critical and you think that the Olympics are all about money and corruption and gentrification and disenfranchising community and doping, we want your scholarship. And if you want to better understand how sports plays a role in this ever-changing world, how their own climate change and climate change plays a role in sports, we want your scholarship. And of course, it also means collaboration with the track and field ecosystem, with Tracktown USA and everything that goes along with track and field here in Eugene. So thank you everyone for coming. We are the University of Oregon Olympic Study Center. Thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the session and the rest of this week. Thank you all.